have to understand what makes us anxious and why, so we know what approach to take when dealing with it. When we are anxious, we worry, we feel stressed, we fear things, we feel lost and confused, and we're troubled by something. Well, everyone has reasons to be troubled and to worry because the world is full of things we don't know and things we fail to understand, and there is an unknown that is terrifying to us and that overwhelms us. We can be lost between all the possibilities and alternatives presented to us, confused about what choices we should make and for what reasons. The world is huge and we are limited. It is complex to us for these reasons. We struggle to understand it, we struggle to orient ourselves in our daily lives, and so we worry, we stress, and we're troubled. But we are troubled exactly in a proportion to our limitations. We are stressed and worried in a proportion to our incompetence and lack of capacity and understanding required to handle things. And this is a key to understanding anxiety. Anxiety can be distressing, but it is also a signal. It signals that there are emerging troubles we should attend to. It signals that something represents a trouble to us. And the things that trouble us and cause stress are telling us what we should deal with first, what we should put in place. And anxiety is not something absolutely terrible or purely negative. We need to understand the role it plays in our self maintenance and also how we should approach it. Anxiety is a signal toward a problem, toward the thing that worries and stresses us. And those are exactly the things we need to look at. That is exactly where we should pay our attention. That is where competence should be built. Because things trouble, stress, and worry us in a proportion to our inability to deal with them. Perhaps it's a lack of understanding, perhaps a lack of capacity, perhaps it's our wishes and desires that we cannot handle, or fears that overwhelm us. So again, in other words, things are not problematic because they are problems in themselves. They are problematic because they are problems for us, because we can't deal with them, or it's hard for us. Well, this is a good news, because it means that our problems are not objectively problematic. They are problematic for us at a given moment, for a specific reason. And if we will attend to this reason, we can be reconciled, let's say, with this problem. We can resolve them from being problematic to us, so they would stop being the source of anxiety. So it is simple. We're anxious because we are too small, weak, and incapable of handling the world around us, in comparison with an infinite unknown that is the world around, the field of an infinite potential and possibilities, which is terrifying comparing to our limitations. Following this logic, the appropriate response to anxiety, to this signal that our body sends to us, is to attend to what makes us anxious and to grow in maturity, competence, understanding, and capacity. The prescription for anxiety is maturity. Now, think about when you were a child. You were smaller, weaker, and more naive. You cried more often, you were highly sensitive to stress and easily upset, losing control over yourself and over the situation and things around you. It was harder for you to deal with people, to build relationships, especially long-term relationships, if you even were able to build any, because as children are, we are egocentric. And it's not because we don't want to interact with people as kids, it's because we cannot properly attend to the interests of other people, right? And it emerges within the games kids play together when they fail to attend to each other's desires, and they start having conflicts because they are egocentric and they fail to share things and to share interests because they fail to consider anything beyond themselves. They are possessed with their momentary desires, and all these troubles emerge, right? And no wonder, because with so little capacity and understanding. So, well, this is an example. Kids are highly dependent on their caregivers, right? They treat strangers as suspicious, and they form stronger attachments with their caregiver. It becomes a stress for them to be separated from their parents, let's say. The reason is obvious. It's because they are dependent. They are fragile. They are vulnerable. They can't survive alone. They lack the capacity and they lack understanding of the world. Things around are too fearsome and unknown. And this is also why kids fear monsters under the bed, monsters, because this is unknown. There could be anything terrifying. That's why the shadows in the dark form into the shapes for kids, because when you are small and dependent and lacking capacity and also understanding of the world around, the knowledge of the world around, then the unknown is terrifying. The darkness is scary because anything could be in the darkness. It could be monster as well, any kind of monster. You don't know what is there. So you fear, and so you worry, and so you stress because you're small and vulnerable and fragile. And especially when your desires are not fulfilled, you stress and worry even more. When something is unfamiliar or confusing to you, you start crying. And that's what children do. But we are not children anymore. We are not that fragile and we're not that vulnerable. And as we grow and mature, we develop skills, we gain experience, and we start making sense of the world, start orienting ourselves in it properly. And life becomes easier in direct proportion to our maturity. We are still limited. We are not all powerful, we are not all knowing, but we are no longer that small or that fragile. As children, we could be resentful, miserable, being afraid of, let's say, our parents' judgment. What will they say? What will they do when they will know? We also were miserable when we faced unfairness or did not get what we wanted. But as we grow, we begin to consider more than just ourselves. We start to see bigger picture. We begin to understand why our parents had acted the way they did. We become less resentful and less hateful as we start being able to face things that once terrified us, because we now can have a hard conversation with our parents and handle it, even if they are uncomfortable, even if we are yelled at, even if they do judge us strongly and dislike what we do. We can handle it and not fall apart. We also can handle people being unfair to us or unreasonable. We can see also their motives. We can understand their hardships and cruelty of the world around us. As we start seeing beyond ourselves, we start being less judgmental and more understanding. When we were children, mockery crushed us. Remember all these conversations you would repeat in your head how you should have answered? Because it was something we were not able to handle. This is not as scary to us anymore, no longer. Because we can handle being disliked. We can handle being misunderstood and unappreciated. We also can handle being treated in the way we would not like to be treated. Let's say, not being treated gently. And it is not because we enjoy it, but it's because we are not longer that weak or dependent. As children, we also felt shame for liking what others had, what kind of phone we have. But as adults, we change our perception of things. We develop it. Hopefully it gets developed as we grow and mature. And we are less ashamed of being different. We understand that sometimes differences are not our fault and not our shame. Even seeing bullies as the core problem, because we understand they children too, and that egocentrism is part of being a child. It's a part of having a narrow vision of the world and yourself including. Even when things were or are unfair, if we have developed a broader understanding of reality, we are not consumed by resentment. And it's not because we don't have any desires or preferences for things to be a certain way, it's because we build the understanding of things and the world beyond yourself. And we see that fairness is part of it and a great part of it, and there are all sorts of reasons that influence things being different from what we want them to be. That the judgment of parents or mockery of others or unfairness or our unmet desires don't crush us anymore, because we have grown the capacity, the competence, and the understanding required to handle them. Still, the world contains infinite possibilities, and this unknown never disappears, but it does become less terrifying, and not because the unknown or complexity shrinks, but because we stop running from it, we stop being scared of it. We take responsibility for increasing our capacity to face it. And this is maturity. This is the proper response to anxiety. This is actually what anxiety asks of you, to look at what troubles you so you would face it and grow strong enough to handle it. So what once terrified you would stop being a problem for you. What once could crush you would no longer do it. And it's true that you have all sorts of reasons to be anxious, just as children do. But anxiety, just as pain, their messages point you toward what needs your attention and where the growth is required. So maturity is not optional. It is a necessary process that moves you away from anxiety, away from pain, away from disintegration, collapse, stress, death, and towards the strengths of a character, increased capacity, and understanding. Do you want relief from anxiety? Grow strong enough to carry it.